Morning, all. All right, so news of the day video for all you fine people on the internet. Start things off today. I am limiting these to just one per day because even if news breaks after the video's gone live, it's kind of a quiet time news wise. So I collect the news from the day before, and then of course the news of that morning, and yeah. So, anyways. From last night's game between the New York Rangers and the Florida Panthers, just an interesting note: if that mouth guard of Matthew Tkachuk's that Chris Kreider threw had cleared the glass and ended up in the crowd, first off, ew. Second off, that could have been a game misconduct for Chris Kreider. So apparently it just went straight up, landed on the ice. But it's one of those interesting things where, you wouldn't think anything of it, but since it's a player's equipment, technically they can give you a game misconduct for it clearing the glass. So that's why they don't grab a guy's stick and just fling it into the crowd. Not on purpose, anyways. You can make it clear the glass and look accidental and go, "Whoops! I knocked your stick right over the glass." I mean, it looks cool, and then you could just sort of shrug and go, "I didn't mean to do that." But if you grab it and fling it over the glass, then that's game misconduct. Anders Lee. So the reason for the Islanders garb is that he won the King Clancy Trophy. This was announced yesterday night. Or last night, I guess, as normal people would say it. And that trophy is for leadership on and off the ice. And it normally involves humanitarian work, and he absolutely does a lot of humanitarian work. Anders Lee, absolutely a worthy recipient of the award, but there is no shortage of hockey players who are generous with their money and with their time. I think hockey players have a really strong reputation within the community for the work that they do and for being as generous as they are. Congratulations to Anders Lee on winning that award. Will Smith signed his entry-level contract. I know that happened right after the video of the news of the day yesterday went live. Will Smith's going to be a star, I think, in the National Hockey League. He was a number 4 draft pick last year. The extra year before signing the entry-level contract, I don't see how that could be a bad thing. That can only be a good thing. And so San Jose adds a lot of skill up front. They're very likely to draft Macklin Celebrini in about a month's time. And those are 2 top 6 forwards you've added to your roster. And Eklund really looked like he was coming into his own in the second half of the season. You also had him on a line with Granlund and Zetterlund. That line looked pretty good. I don't know. San Jose's starting to build things up. Should be interesting to see how many wins they get next year. Again, I'm ballparking 25 for them next year. Which is an improvement over this past season and the season before. I don't think it's going to be a huge improvement, but we'll see what they do to add in the offseason. If they do go out and add a few veterans, maybe they'll be even better than that. Zach Sanford signed a 1-year extension with the Chicago Blackhawks. It is worth the league minimum, which stands at $775,000 US. Sanford's a solid fourth liner fill-in, and of course that's kind of what Chicago's going to be keeping him for. And so I think that's a good move by the Chicago Blackhawks, and likely by Zach Sanford as well. If he wants to get playing time, a team like Chicago may be able to give him playing time that other teams may not. Now, in other news, PWHL, the final game of the year will be played tonight, Minnesota and Boston. This is in Boston. Not that home ice has meant a lot in this series thus far. That game starts at 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific, so the Walter Cup will be held up for the first time tonight. And it'll be interesting to see which team gets it, whether it is Boston or Minnesota. I mean, for me personally, obviously I have an affinity for teams from Boston, but it would be nice to see a team from Minnesota get a win here. But either way, it will decide the season. It has been a very successful season for the PWHL. It'll be interesting to see this summer when they start revealing their names and logos and jerseys and all that. How well that goes and what Bauer comes up with. Bauer, again, a good company, and they're doing the jerseys for the PWHL. I'm sure there will be comparisons once Fanatics comes out. Although Fanatics is supposed to be keeping things the same as they are this year, there will still be comparisons between the jerseys being worn between different leagues and, people saying which ones are their favorites and all that. So that'll be interesting, but at any rate, the final game in the PWHL season is tonight. Ryan Suzuki signs a 1-year, 2-way contract with the Carolina Hurricanes, and he's been in their organization for a while now. At the NHL level, he'll make $775,000. At the AHL level, $70,000. Although if he spends the entire season in the AHL, there is a minimum guaranteed contract here of $90,000. So they'd bump him up by $20,000 at the end of the year if he didn't get called up. With the new GM, you just never know. You never know what might happen, how things might change. Clearly in Carolina, things have to change. Maybe they'll give Ryan Suzuki a look on the fourth line for them next year. Who knows? Yesterday, Moose Jaw defeats Drummondville at the Memorial Cup 5-3, so they get the win. Drummondville does not. So by my count, that means Moose Jaw qualifies for the semifinal, and Saginaw plays London to decide who's in that semifinal. So 4 teams qualify, 3 teams qualify for the semifinal/final, and both Saginaw and London are 2-0. So whichever team ends up winning tonight gets that bye into the final. But yeah, that game starts at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. So between the PWHL, the Memorial Cup, and the NHL Stanley Cup, there are some choices tonight for hockey fans. And the Stanley Cup starts tonight at 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific. The Oilers are making some changes to the roster. Chris Knobloch saying that McLeod's likely to go back in. It looks like Corey Perry's likely going back in. And saying that Skinner is still going to be the starter. So there was discussion of whether or not maybe they'd bring in Pickard, but I will applaud Knobloch for the fact that he named Skinner yesterday, and it doesn't look like there's any chance of Pickard going in. Although, would I be entirely surprised with how coaches and teams are these days if Pickard was magically the starter in Game 4? Not really, no. Misdirection seems to be part of the plan now with the NHL. So for Dallas, they're up 2-1. They're going to be looking to go up 3-1 going home. This is the same situation as last night in Florida, which is why I think the Oilers probably win this game tonight, because they have to. They can't be going to Dallas down 3-1. For Dallas, Stankoven, 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 points, has been so impressive in these playoffs. Robertson, coming off of a hat trick, now has 6 goals, 10 assists in these playoffs for 16 points. Wyatt Johnston, a little quieter the last couple of games, but 8 goals, 6 assists for him in these playoffs for 14 points. And those 3 forwards are a big part of the reason why I'm just really excited about this era for the Dallas Stars. And Jake Ottinger in net doesn't hurt either, .923 save percentage so far in the playoffs. On the Oilers side, Zach Hyman, 13 goals, 3 assists, 16 points. He started getting goals again. But they need more. And of course, Draisaitl, who's been quiet. I think he's gone without a point now for 2 games. 9 goals, 16 assists, 25 points. 2 games without a point is nothing for most players, but when you're a star player like Draisaitl, and it is the playoffs, it is notable. And Corey Perry has not recorded a point yet. He's played 10 games, so if he gets into tonight's game, it'll be interesting because, of course, he did play for Dallas and might have some familiarity there. Maybe he can get a point or a goal or something. He's kind of due, right? So we'll see what happens. And of course, Stuart Skinner, .885 save percentage. Where I kind of feel bad for Skinner is this. He played pretty well in games 6 and 7 against Vancouver, though they didn't test him a lot, right? But games 1 and 2 against Dallas, he was excellent, absolutely excellent. But as soon as he has a game where he looks kind of shaky, like game 3, immediately everybody comes out with, well, he's got to go. He's got to go. He's not good enough. The life of a goaltender, you're as good as your last game. But Skinner will be in there tonight looking to improve his .885 save percentage. I am sure the Oiler fans will be extremely loud again. Although they got quieter in the second period last game when Dallas started getting things going. But we'll see how they do tonight. Whether or not the Oilers can play that full 60-minute game and keep Dallas under control. Or does Dallas go home up 3-1? It'll be interesting to see how it turns out. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always, including your pick for tonight's game. Sure. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.